Monday, January 10th, BCS National Championship game, Oregon versus Auburn. This is the game we've been waiting for. It's the dream matchup. Two undefeated teams for all the marbles. Johnny, what's the line on this game? Where are we sitting at?
Opened up Auburn minus 3.74. As of now, the public's on Auburn and the under. The line's now down to 2.5 and 74 right now. To me, I'm really excited about this game. I mean, all those great years of those great USC teams, with the great SEC teams, you never really got to see the elite SEC school play the elite Pac-10 school in a bowl game. You know, it was always an Ohio State or, a Big 12 team mixed somewhere in the bunch. I'm really excited about this because the SEC is going for their fourth straight possible BCS title in a row, which is huge. I'm excited about this game, to be honest, Marco. What's your thoughts on it?
Well, there's no question. This is what everybody wanted. They wanted to see these two teams. And, you look at it on the surface, you got two offenses that look virtually unstoppable. And I'm going to sound crazy, but I think this game's going to come down to defense. Believe it or not, in the end, it's going to be who makes the stops. And there's going to be situations where the teams are going to go up and down the field. There's no question about that. But who's going to be the defense that makes somebody settle for the field goal instead of the touchdown? And that's where the game's going to be decided. And Oregon has held 6 opponents this year to 16 points or less. Now, Auburn, on the flip side, at the beginning of the season, and we did several videos with RJ that, and a couple of the videos actually, my pick was on the over because nobody could stop this Auburn team, and yet Auburn couldn't stop anybody. But in the final 2 weeks of the season, you've had a total change of character for Auburn, and I don't even want to say the final 2 games of the season, the final game and a half,
right?
Because it happened in the second half of that, really the middle of the second quarter, Thanksgiving, the weekend, the Friday after Thanksgiving, whenever Auburn was trailing 24-0 to Alabama, and they absolutely put the clamps on Alabama, come storming back to keep the perfect season alive, and then they just manhandled South Carolina in the SEC championship.
Auburn, to me, one of the key things in this game is your better teams versus better teams versus not better teams. Is the not better teams whine about what it coulda, shouldas. People say, "Oh, Auburn got lucky. They came back." But they came back. That's good coaching.
On the road to boot.
It's a solid team. It's good conditioning. There's so many variables that some people call luck. I call that's what makes them the better team because the better team doesn't make those mistakes. The only real one comparison, the reason I'm so excited about this game is going back to the whole, when USC had those amazing squads, you actually never got to see them play the Florida squads of those years, the Tennessee squads. And the flip side, when the powerhouse SEC schools, they played at Ohio State or, they played some Big 12 schools. So you never really got to see them. We're finally getting to see it. The only real thing you could look at is, earlier in the year is Oregon at Tennessee destroyed them 48-13. Does that mean anything? I mean, Tennessee is 6-6. I mean, they weren't exactly the cream of the crop in the SEC. But going back to the coaching issue is Auburn played 9 bowl teams and outscored them in the fourth quarter, 135 points to 31. So you're talking a team that when it gets to that fourth quarter, that crunch time, whether they're down, whether they're up, they're out to play. That's coaching. That's conditioning. And, people talk of the speed of the SEC. Auburn's a hard-hitting team. They're wearing you down. And by the time they get to that fourth quarter, those guys on the sideline, have ice packs on their head, and the Auburn guys are frothing at the mouth, and it shows in the stats.
They're not taking their foot off the gas. A memo that I wish Jim Tressel and Gary Peterson would get because they both of those guys took the foot off the gas
especially
in their bowl
Ohio
games.
State.
And almost cost them, both of them almost cost themselves the bowl games. But that's another story. Johnny, one thing that, we're talking about this game and, trying to pick the winner. And, I'll be honest with you, right now, I don't have a side in this game yet. I've been back and forth. I flip-flopped a couple times, so I don't know what I'm going to do on the side. But I am going to give a pick in this game, and my pick's going to come on the total. And everything we've talked about so far has been about these offenses. I've said it. I think it's going to come down to defense. But I'm going to look at the under, and here's why I'm going to look at it. This total is as high as it can possibly be.
Right.
The hype for this game is two of the most, prolific offenses in college football going head to head. So where do you put the number? I'm looking at it and saying what people aren't considering is these two teams haven't played for a month. This is being played on January 10th.
Right.
It's even longer for Oregon, in Auburn played in the SEC championship game. So you haven't played for a month. You're going to be a little bit rusty, a little bit out of sync. Also factor in, you're playing for the national championship game. It's almost like the hype for a big boxing match. There's two heavyweights that, love to duke it out. But when they come out in that first round, what are they doing? Are they throwing haymakers?
Feeling each other out.
They're filling each other out and throwing jabs.
And that's why, to go back to that whole fourth quarter thing, to me, is that fourth quarter is going to be really exciting to watch. I mentioned earlier about the Auburn outscoring the 9 bowl teams 135-31. On the flip side, Oregon, there's only been one team all year that's been within a touchdown of them in the fourth quarter. So by the fourth quarter, Oregon, even when they were losing to Stanford, I think it was like 21-3 at one point, they make some adjustments, whatever, boom. By the fourth quarter, they're destroying people. So you have teams that can't even get within a touchdown of this squad. By the fourth quarter, but on the flip side, Auburn in the fourth quarter dominates the coaching, the conditioning. Something has to give that fourth quarter to me, and that's why as of now I'm not really sure where I'm going to go, because that fourth quarter, one of them is going to have to budge.
But back to the total. With a total this high, if you've got that one slow quarter, that can kill, because then you're behind the number the whole way. When you've got an over-under of 74,
right,
you got to be scoring every quarter. Now, the only thing that, with an under in a game like this, that you do run the risk, if this is a dogfight and they do go up and down the field and they get it to overtime, then you could be cooked. But I'm going to go with a slow first quarter. And Oregon, if you do look at a couple of their games this year, they have started games out slow.
A lot of them slow.
And then they get rolling. And like I said, you can't afford too much of clock going with no points being put on the board with this kind of total. So my pick's going to be on the unders, what I'm going to give here. You got anything you want to add to this one?
I'm honestly, like I said, I'm really excited to see finally the best Pac-10 school versus the best SEC school. There's not tons of history with these two conferences. It's for all the marbles, similar teams. Who knows?
We should just, lose your plane ticket and have you stay till Monday and watch the championship.
Yeah, get a little better weather, man. I came out here. I could have stayed in Detroit for this nonsense.
Okay, that's the national championship game. My official pick here on the video is we're going to go with the under. Take this game. I have the score a 33-30 type game. I don't know who's going to have the 33. I think it's going to come down. It's going to come down.
The fourth quarter, like I said.
But let's go with the under for this pick. That's going to wrap up this week's show. Johnny, pleasure having you on board.
Hey, thank
you. We got to get you out here to Vegas more often, and check out Johnny Detroit. We're going to also be doing a video later. You'll be able to watch that on Johnny's homepage. We're going to do a Meet the Pros with Johnny, so you get to know where he's coming from and how his style of what he does to pick winners and make money.
Well, I got to call the lawyer first to see what I technically
No problem. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the national championship game. We'll be back next week.